Aloha, welcome to the 40th Annual Hawaii International Film Festival presented by Hale Kalani and our discussion with director Gerard Elmore for the film Red House. We would like to extend our thanks to Film Hawaii, Hawaiian Airlines, and the Nichols Family Film Fund for sponsoring this program, which is part of our Made in Hawaii section. Before we start the Q&A, just some quick housekeeping bits. For program updates, for the most up-to-date information, go to our website to check out the full schedule of films, events, HIF's talk story sessions, and Q&As. Visit our website at hiff.org, hiff.org. Also, this film is eligible for the Audience Award. To participate in our Hawaii News Now Audience Award voting, please head to hawaiinewsnow.com/HIFF to cast your vote for your favorite narrative, documentary, and short films. And mahalo to Hawaii News Now for their support. All right, so Gerard, welcome to this Q&A for Red House. So before we start, this is part of the, was part of the OHINA Short Film Lab. Can you just basically, I know we have a partnership with you guys, with OHINA, and aside from you being the director of this film, you're also the head of OHINA. So just kind of in a nutshell, what is OHINA to people who are not familiar with it? I mean, I think a lot of local people and also a lot of our HIF attendees and audiences know what OHINA is, but since we're going nationwide with this, want to just kind of give your quick description of what OHINA is.
Sure, I appreciate that, Anderson. OHINA is pretty much now, in the past, it's been a showcase, but now we are heavily
showcase for locally made short films, right?
Yeah, locally made short films, local writers, local filmmakers, and it was started, before my time by Jeff Katz and Jason Supaia. Over time, a lot of what we're doing is a lot of what HIF does, and we made the decision that we want to be more about creating content, fostering local talent, local stories, helping them connect with the people they need to connect with to make their films. The lab's been running for 3 years.
Right. So basically, you were like exhibition from basically being a film festival to moving into artist development, right? So.
Yeah, and there might be some of that to showcase some of the lab films, after HIF shows the films. But really what our focus is shepherding and fostering this talent so they can get to this level. And we're starting to see these films trickle out and the filmmakers grow. And that's kind of the idea of OHINA. And then, we've been greenlighting certain films with funds and resources and connections to help get them made. And then some of them, we just hop in and say, hey, this is a good story. And let's make it, and that's the case here.
Right.
And this year we helped support Hawaiian Soul as well. And there's another film that kind of, that still needs more time.
Yeah.
And of course, COVID blew a hole in some of the other lab projects that are going. So hopefully in the new year.
Because usually through the lab process, this is like after your third year, you usually have a whole bunch of shorts that are completed for HIF, so. Because COVID obviously kind of had a snag. But, we're fortunate enough, I think, because of timing, because of Red House, you guys were just made it in the nick of time before everything shut down, and you were able to do post-production remotely and all that stuff. So,
we got in the can right before. And again, another heartbreaking thing where we had a lot lined up to go. That were going to happen, and they didn't. And Red House was one of those scripts that didn't get any of the big awards out of the lab.
Right.
But I thought it was just well written and crafted, and I was like, let's do it. Let's just make it.
So basically, Red House, you said it's like one of those examples of projects that the script was already existed and you really liked it, so you hopped on board to provide support, right? Is that basically it for this film?
Yeah, and it was written by Holly Serini, and she actually had a feature film script that went through Creative Lab.
Right, and Creative Lab is an artist development lab created by the Department of Economic Development and Tourism, DBED, through the Creative Industries division, right? So
yeah. And so the feature length kind of went there, and it wasn't going anywhere, past some pitches and some momentum that they gained over there. So the kind of the idea, I think Henry and Cusick helped with this as well, was to kick it back to a short form that we can help kind of show, what it would look like, or get
like a proof of concept.
Yeah,
right?
Proof of concept of what we can do. Yeah. The feature, and I'm sure Holly would, say the same thing, is much more, a lot more humor,
Sure.
and less on the drama, but we wanted to do something that could kind of show a little bit of what we can do, and it was a nice story to tell. Yeah.
Right. So Holly Serini, this is her script, basically her idea and stuff like that. I mean, what's great about going through OHINA, or maybe just like filmmaking in Hawaii in general. I mean, I don't think Holly is she's not a filmmaker by trade, but she's a. But I think she has a connection to film because her mom was also just happened to be the founder of HIFF. It's like Jeanette Paulson here in Nico. But that being said, so I think it's like very cool that basically you guys believed in the project and nurtured it and stuff like that. And I guess you mentioned Henry, you and Cusick came on board as executive producer, and if you people who are big Losty fans, he was Desmond, one of the most popular characters in Lost, and he which was shot in Hawaii, and then he loved the place, that he moved his whole family to Kailua basically, and he's still a working actor. He's working on a lot of TV shows, going back and forth, commuting and stuff like that. But he's been very instrumental in the local filmmaking scene as well. So. He was in Tai Sanga's film a couple years ago, and he's produced some stuff, and he produced this one, of course. So it's really great to see him. And it's great that what OHINA's doing, because you're kind of like collaborating, and especially through the lab, because you're bringing in mentors from basically from Hollywood. Like people who've worked in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You worked in former Hawaii residents and UH students like Dana Ledoux Miller, who became a staff writer on the newsroom and stuff like that. And then she's a graduate of ACM, and we brought her back as a mentor. So it's great that you guys are doing this. So, but anyway, so you decided to make this proof of concept. So you basically shot it, and then what was the kind of so what was the decision process? Because you did say the feature film it's obviously much more. There's more stuff in it, for lack of a better word, more humor and stuff like that. But this one's definitely a little darker, So, how was the creative process in deciding what to keep and what to excise for this short? Because you still have to lay out a complete story, even though it's a short film, right? So.
Yeah, and Holly would be great, to talk a lot about this, but I mean, it was quite the process, and I'm sure she would share this as well, which is after labs and it didn't get picked and anything like that, she wrote a kind of a parallel script that was much lighter in tone, and she kind of handed them. Initially, Henry and Cusick was going to direct, but he was like, I don't know about my schedule and things like that, so I kind of jumped in to say, we'll make sure it gets made, but she gave these two scripts and said, pick. And it was funny because some of us picked Red House as it is now, and then the other film, and it was quite the tug and pull about what would win out. But Holly actually submitted both these scripts to We Screenplay, kind of a national screenwriting contest, and I think maybe that was the best referee of all, because the new script didn't go very far, but Red House actually went all the way to the finals and got their place in the nation, as judged by some Academy Award winners. So, and I was like, I guess that's the winner. So we're gonna take that script and we're gonna make it.
It's good to get independent, third party, validation, in that way, to decide which one to make, right? So.
Yeah, I think for all of us, because we get very close to our work and our scripts, and I think one of the important things to do is give it to people who are not going to like it, or people who don't know you, to get some honest feedback and criticism. And I think that was much the process of Red House.
Yeah. So you came into the director's chair, basically, and then so where did you guys shoot? And first of all, how was the casting process? You have to find, you're working with young people. It can be, the benefit is that they're very they don't like necessarily like get bad habits when it comes to acting. They can act from a very pure place, is back for a better word again. So like basically casting process, and where did you shoot?
Oh yeah, the casting process was quite interesting because we had a casting director, Katie Doyle, who actually had to get taken off for Taika's movie. She's really talented, but she's like, I hope you understand it. It's for Taika's film. I was like, that's funny because a lot of the template for the film was Taika, inspired, because Holly had some specific people in mind when she wrote it, and actually, Passion was one of them, and Bronson was actually one of Bronson was actually one of them. Bronson has done a lot of social media kind of videos, and he's quite popular. Lethal Giggles is the name of the group.
He's based in Kauai, right?
No, he's
based in Honolulu. Okay, got it.
Yeah, Lethal Giggles is a group, kind of a comedy group, and she kind of shared pictures of the group with me when we were trying to figure out who was going to be in it, and so essentially she already had those people in mind. Okay. And so we kind of just asked people around us to get kind of the cast. And that's kind of how the process happened.
And where did you shoot? Where did you shoot?
Yeah. So a lot of it is Kaneohe.
Kaneohe, yeah.
Most of it is, some of it is downtown, but most of it is all in Kaneohe.
Right. And then so you basically shot the film, right before COVID started. I mean, before the lockdown happened. Not started, but the lockdown was implemented. But so I mean, it must have been a challenge post-production wise. So like, what were some of the things that you had to change and adapt to in regards to workflow?
Yeah, I mean, Nick Stone edited, and he's also, this is a great little trivia thing. Nick is also the editor on Kahukai, so it's like the same team, kind of shifting over. Okay. So everything becomes remote after that, and he's quite comfortable because he's a filmmaker himself, working remotely. So one of the things that hopefully people don't notice is that there's some visual effects shots in there that kind of go with Holly's script, which is, one, we could not find a red house next to a greenhouse. It was very specific in the script. So the red house that you see in the film is all visual effects. There's no red house. Could not find one for the life of me. So I had to change the color of the house. And kind of the big one is we had to do some reshoots because that last scene where he's in the water was just challenging the shoot period. So we had to go back and redo it. But with COVID, you can't have a full boat. So we couldn't get any wide shots. And that was...
Got it,
because in the script, and initially we wanted to have some more shots of the other guys in the boat and have more story with those guys. But with COVID protocols, it was not a wise decision to load up that boat. So when you see the film, it's shot over a bunch of days. Close-ups.
Well, I think it lends to the franticness of it all. It's like
it ends up working out.
It totally does, because it's like, what are these guys going to do to this guy? Yeah, so it's like, yeah, no, I think it works out because there's a definitely much more frenetic kind of, you don't know what's going to happen next type of feel to it. So
Yeah, and the thing I keep repeating is the audience won't know. You're telling the story, right?
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
And people are following the story. They're not following how you shot it and all that.
right.
So
You shot that over multiple days because you can't have all those guys in the same boat and stuff like that, right? So
over multiple days for multiple reasons. So the drone shots are one day.
One day, yeah.
And then we ran out of light. So the last possible shot we got was him on his back and kind of that epic shot. So I was like, I need that shot. Get that shot out of the way. And then by that time, light was gone. So we had to go back another day. And of course, I think it was over the course of 3 other days where I just failed miserably to get any good shots out of it, where the weather was bad and the ocean was rough. So I think in total it was like 4 or 5 days of just trying to get the shots.
Yeah.
On that dang boat.
Because you're shooting on water too. That's crazy.
Shooting on water. All the close-ups were probably the easiest day because we just ended up going into a channel with the boys. And getting all that dialogue and close-ups.
Right.
Definitely the hardest scene in the whole movie.
Well, okay, so so basically, I mean, the film is done, and went through the kind of the OHINA process and stuff like that, and it is like essentially a proof of concept. Essentially, it's still a complete story, but it is with the intent for it to be expanded for the full feature, right? So, will OHINA be attached to that process as well, or what is the next stage or next plans for this film?
That's a good question. Because Holly's doing her homework, which is she's thinking about that, and of course, COVID has impacted this decision as well.
Right.
Because who knows what's going to happen with theaters? So she's thinking, and I agree with this approach, is thinking of it as a TV series, as opposed to a film, because I think it's going to be harder to do these one-off films as opposed to a series, and you could see how far this series could go with just focusing on the different characters in the group and the different ways you can go about it. And so I think Holly's mindset is how does this become a TV show? And I kind of gave her the Ted Lasso name because that's a good kind of template, because we want to go.
Oh, the Apple TV series.
If you haven't seen it,
yeah. I heard it's great. Yeah.
It's great and a good template, I think, for us to make kind of our Hawaii version of that.
Sure.
I don't know if Holly's gonna go that direction, but I thought that was kind of a good comparison in that.
Right.
It's heartfelt. It's funny. And it's moving. And if we did it in Hawaii, I think it'd be quite something.
Very cool.
What she wants to focus on is kind of this. The canoe kind of outrigger community and what that looks like. And
yeah. Very cool. So it's like, and then so what are, I mean, pandemic be damned, but the future of OHINA, you still have a couple projects that are, you need to finish from this pipeline, so does that mean you're putting 2021 lab on hold, or are you going to do it all virtually, or what's the plans for the next in the coming year?
Yeah, this year is going to be a real strip down. We're going to do kind of a screenwriting webinar, and next week we'll start out alumni talks where we talk with alumni and where they're at and what they're doing, and catch up on them. And I think realistically, we kind of have to hunker down and get through this before we restart anything, because we're all volunteers for OHINA.
Sure.
You don't make money.
Yeah.
It all runs on funding that we get from people, and all our sponsors right now are hurting. So kind of probably the right decision right now is to hold off and next year see what that looks like.
Yeah.
And we're going to work with our current pipeline to make sure their films get finished and complete.
Sure. Because we're on this like national stage, with showing all these films. All the Hawaii films, for example, are available to view nationally. Maybe for any filmmakers, maybe I call them expats from Hawaii who now live on the continent or something like that. Or maybe just like maybe filmmakers who are just interested in making a Hawaii story. They can definitely apply to OHINA, right? If they have a great script or an idea or template, you know, especially now if you're going to do stuff virtually, you know, on Zoom, right? So,
yeah, and that might be, you know, the way forward. You know, Deja was our Greenlight winner last year, and she's not from here. She, you know, she lives in Austin, Texas. And, you know, right now, and when this is all happening, she's out there, you know, trying to raise more money.
Yeah.
And getting everything ready. So when she can shoot, she's going to shoot. But she's a great example of someone that's not from here.
Yeah.
And kind of the main goal is just tell more of these stories.
Right.
And hopefully with all these stories and kind of the stories that the films that have been made the past 2 years, we're elevating the Hawaii game. You know, and you see a lot of the filmmakers, it may not be OHINA films, but they're working on all these other films and helping one another out. And that's kind of what we want.
So my last question is basically, and this is not about the film, but just basically on your outlook on, I mean, you look with, you know, I mean, you know, with the pandemic, you know, I mean, the Hawaii is like, you know, #1 in unemployment. You know, basically, you know, it's I mean, it's basically kind of a reckoning across the board when it comes to, oh, wow, you know, I mean, Hawaii's main driver for the economy is tourism, and, you know, or the military, or like state government, you know, like it's like, so like it's like, you know, there is definitely talk, chatter, I mean, serious chatter, I think, about actually diversifying the economy, you know, I mean, investing in agriculture, investing in creative industries, you know, investing in kind of a smart tourism, you know. So, I mean, what is your outlook, and do you see this as, I mean, everything's in a standstill, but, you know, we're slowly coming back to not, I don't necessarily think regular life, but a new way of life, and the way we live our lives and the way we work. Where do you see kind of like HIFF or OHINA in the grand scheme of things when it comes to the local film industry?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. It's pretty relevant, you know, because we have to diversify. I mean, if there's anything this is proving is we have to diversify, and we've been screaming and yelling that we have creative IP that we can sell, and not only that, we have good production crews and we're relatively safe. So you're already seeing production bubbles here, filming and shooting, and local crew that can deal with it. We want to get to the level where they're tapping us not just to be crew, you know, gaffers and things like that, but above the line. That's
right.
Essentially, if we want to move and grow, that's what we want to be, and that's what we're aiming to do.
Right.
So the combo of HIFF and OHINA is HIFF is on the global stage, OHINA is on the local side of things. And what we're trying to do is cultivate and grow the talent so that they belong on that world stage. So when you go and present our OHINA films and you show them, it's like, yeah, they belong. It's not a kind of a gimme. You're not kind of just like giving them a freebie. They're just as good as equally. And so I want to get to the place where it's above the line, you know, where for people who don't know what that means, it's the boss, producers, directors, you know, crafting the content, writers' rooms. That's where we want to be at. And if we want to diversify this industry, that's what it's going to take. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, basically it's, you know, not to be the tradespeople, but to be the creators, basically, you know? So, no, that's a, you know, that's a very bold initiative. And I think it's now, you know, in the world of disruption when it comes to the way we consume content, you know, in the world of Netflix and HBO Max and Apple TV and Amazon and Hulu, there's going to be a need for more and more content, and also a need for more authentic content. So you're not necessarily need to make films that will, you know, basically be made for Peoria It can just be, it can be as authentic as you want, as localized as you want. But but all of us have, there's all these universal themes and tropes that we all share and gravitate towards. I think that's the main thing. So. So Gerard, so basically, before we sign off, what's the where can people find out more about OHINA?
OHINA.org. We're about to launch a new site. That'll get you more info, and our Facebook, Twitter. We're constantly updating people on some webinars we'll be doing, and we'll be around HIFF as well. And this year, smaller in terms of the films we got, but we are still around.
Well, we look forward to presenting your new productions in 2021, and also we're very proud of our basically partnership and trying to, and basically in our goal to really prop up and create a sustainable local film and TV industry. So thank you again, Gerard, for everything that you do.
For all you do too.
Yes,
and same. I would sing our Jinx. It's not easy for anyone that's watching. It's not easy to. The film festival is numerous films, and it's hundreds of films, and it's not just a job that they are truly passionate about these films and make excellent decisions. Yeah,
well, that's why we're done. We do it for the love, right? So, so thank you, Gerard, again. Thank you again, for everyone else, for watching the discussion today, and special mahalo to our HIFF sponsors, board directors, HIFF OHINA members, and also our volunteers. We can't do it without you. If you saw Red House, I encourage you to see all the Made in Hawaii films. We've got a record number of locally made films that we're presenting here at the festival. Actually all of them are all viewable online through our streaming platform, and they're viewable nationwide. So take that opportunity to see these films and allow us to bring Hawaii to you. So on that note, thanks again, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.